Hello beautiful people of the world, welcome to my channel. My name is Shea, and yes, I'm here again. In my last update I said, you won't see me anymore, next time you see me I'll be with the baby, blah blah blah. Whatever I said, I was wrong, okay? I'm overdue. My due date was yesterday. I'm currently 40 weeks pregnant, and I'm not a fan. Let's be real. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little moody and a little grumpy about it. Definitely really nauseous today, and let's get into why I'm a little frustrated about the situation. So yesterday I had my 40-week doctor's appointment, and I've never been to a 40-week doctor's appointment because with my first baby, my first pregnancy, my daughter, I went into labor on my due date. Before I had my doctor's appointment, my water broke and I had her on her due date. I'm going to say my final weigh-in was yesterday, and I weighed in at 232.7 pounds. I started off the pregnancy 6 weeks pregnant. I was 194 pounds. Now, if you've watched any of my updates, you know that my weight dropped 17 pounds at the beginning because I was so sick in hospital and everything. And then I gained a lot of weight really quick, and they were really scared about diabetes and stuff, and now it's kind of leveled out. So I've been on both ends of the scale, and now I'm kind of, you know, riding the middle. So that's my final pretty much weigh-in, is 232. So not too bad. In total I gained about 50 pounds over the entire pregnancy with everything that happened. So but you know what, whatever, baby's healthy, that's all that matters. Something really weird that I wanted to mention in here is every time they measure my uterus, so they take a tape measure and they measure my uterus each appointment, and normally I measure 1 week behind, and that's just because I'm very tall. I'm 6 feet tall, so they said like your baby is like in there, like I have a small belly, so I carry my babies pretty small, and I always measure 1 week behind. Same with my first pregnancy and everything. And last week when I went in for my appointment, or at 38 weeks, I was measuring right perfect on par with 38 weeks. So I was like, finally I'm catching up. And then when they measured me again this week at 40 weeks, I was measuring at 38 weeks. So I don't know, that's really weird. Like, is it, I don't know. I know like your belly can kind of like drop a little bit because your baby dropped and stuff. So she didn't seem concerned about it, but I was still measuring at 38 weeks even though it had been 2 more weeks, which is really weird. Anyways, let's keep going with the update because she didn't seem concerned about that. She didn't address it. She just said it. She checked my blood pressure. That was fine. It might be different where you live, but where I live, in this part of Canada that I live in, if mama and baby are both healthy and doing good, they will only let you go 10 days overdue, or they will induce you at 10 days overdue. So, and they don't really want to induce you any earlier if there's no medical need for it, because they really don't want to intervene with medical induction. Also, it's part of my birth plan to not have any medical intervention like that. Like, I'm still going to give birth in a hospital, but I don't want to be hooked up to IVs or anything, if possible. So my induction has been scheduled for the 21st of March, which is exactly 10 days after my due date. And I would have to call at 7 a.m. that morning and see when they can fit me in that day. And if any mama comes in labor, I get bumped out. And if any mama comes in needing an induction, I get bumped out as well, because if she medically needs an induction for a medical reason, I get bumped. So I get the scoot. So I'm supposed to get induced on the 21st. It might be the 22nd if I have to get like bumped because of emergencies coming in. But there's that. There are a lot of COVID babies right now being born, so it's more than likely that I'll be bumped out of the way. Anyways, the next thing with that is where I live also at 41 weeks pregnant. So normally, you know, 40 weeks is your due date. At 41 weeks pregnant, if you're still pregnant, you get sent for an ultrasound because they want to check your fluid, make sure it's all good in there, the amniotic fluid, make sure the baby's looking okay, everything's okay, then the baby is good to go for the couple more days left. And they also do a non-stress test on the baby where they strap the monitor on you and they just check the baby's heart rate, and then you like push this button every time the baby moves. It's really easy. You literally just lay there. And if all comes back good, then the baby can stay in for the last 3 or 4 days until your induction. Otherwise, they would induce you then and there. So that is what's going to be scheduled for my 41 weeks, which is on Thursday, so next week. At my 38-week appointment, she did try to do a membrane sweep, and she was physically not able to. I talked about it in my other update. I'll leave it down below. But long story short, my cervix is tilted the opposite way of normal women, and I only found out this last year when I went for my IUD to be put in, and when I got a pap smear. When I had my daughter, I didn't know this when I gave birth to my daughter. And the reason that I didn't and the doctors didn't know this is because when you go into labor, she said that your body and your muscles like soften to obviously make room in the pelvis and stuff, so it tilts proper way enough for baby to come out. So that's why they didn't notice it with my daughter. And then last year when I went to get a pap smear and my IUD put in, they noticed that my uterus is, or my cervix, sorry, my cervix or my uterus, one of the two things, I don't know which one, or both. I'm no medical professional. I have such bad heartburn right now, oh my god. Either way, my cervix or my uterus is tilted the opposite way of normal women, so it takes my body a little bit of time to be able to tilt the opposite way and have baby come out. And until my body tilts that way, my pelvis, whatever, the baby can't really come out that way, if that makes sense. So at my 38 weeks appointment, she checked. She literally physically could not do a membrane sweep because she said your body is still tilted the other way, so she couldn't reach. And secondly, the outside of my cervix was dilated a little bit less than 1 centimeter, but the inside was like fully closed. And my cervix was soft. And then when she checked me again at 40 weeks, so 2 weeks later, she tried to do membrane sweep and she said it's the same thing. Your body has not tilted yet. Your cervix is still soft, but you're only not even 1 centimeter dilated, so she physically could not do a membrane sweep, which is really disheartening. She wanted to do one because she doesn't want to do a medical induction on me. I wanted to do one because I wanted to go into labor, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. And she also said, to be honest with you, it doesn't look like your baby's coming anytime soon. So I said, like, is it possible that my body could just, like, my cervix could tilt and soften and dilate, like, all in one day? And they can never really say, like, 100% no, obviously for legal reasons. But she said, like, I've never seen that happen. In most cases, it takes multiple days for that to even happen, and my body is not even looking ready to start that process. So that was really disheartening. At the same time of all this happening, she put the fetal Doppler on, so that's the part that they check the heart rate for the baby. And my baby's heart rate has always been about like 145, 140, 150, kind of in that range. And the normal kind of always in range, right? And when she first put it on, right away, I could tell it did not sound like all the other times. It was really slow sounding, and it was really low sounding as well, like really quiet. And she was having it right where the baby's back was, like normal, so it shouldn't have been that quiet and that low. And I could just tell right away, like, that doesn't sound like every other time I've heard either of my baby's heartbeats. So she didn't say anything. Normally they hold it there for about 30 seconds to count, and then they'll say, okay, perfect, it's 140 over blah, 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 whatever, right? She just held it there, and she didn't say anything. She wasn't looking at me, she was looking the opposite way. She was just holding it there for like 2 minutes, like 3 minutes. It felt like forever. And so I'm like sitting there like, yeah, something's wrong. She's obviously not telling me something because she doesn't want to freak me out, but obviously I'm freaking out because I can tell something's wrong. And she goes, okay, just wanted to let you know your baby's heart rate was at 120, and then it jumped up, and then it jumped back down, and it's kind of like all over the place right now. So she said, like, maybe she accidentally woke up the baby and that's why their heart rate was low and then like jumping up. I don't know if she was just trying to reassure me or what, but she said, like, we'll finish the exam and then afterwards I'll try again. So then she tried the membrane sweep and all that, and then she tried with the fetal Doppler again. And also she told me, like, if I can't quite get confident enough that the baby's heart rate is a normal rate, I'll send you to the hospital to get monitored. And in my head, I'm like, just send me to the hospital, because I would rather be 100% sure that the baby is fine, especially if I'm planning to go 10 days overdue, than not too sure and be sent home. So in my head, I'm like, please just send me to the hospital and get like proper monitoring. So, because they don't have the equipment at my doctor's office. So she tried again and she said, like, okay, now baby's heart rate is in normal range, like 140. But she also was just still not 100% sure. Like, I could tell she wasn't. So my partner actually drove me to this appointment. We already had our bags and everything in the car just in case. And she sent me straight to the hospital to get monitored. So we went straight there, and she called them, told them I was coming. I got monitored, so they did the non-stress test on the baby, and baby was like super excited all over the place. Like, their heart rate was suddenly up while we were there, and they were like, wow, you have a very active baby. Every time we have gone in and gotten monitored or anything, all of the nurses always say, wow, your baby's very active and very happy in there, like always just like playing in there, and baby always kicks the monitors that are on. It's so funny. Anyways, and then the baby started like calming down a lot, so they weren't too sure, so they kept us there a little bit longer because the baby's heart rate went down, and they were saying like baby's probably just getting sleepy again and going for a nap, so that's why. And then eventually, after we were there for about a little over an hour, and then they felt confident enough with everything, so a couple nurses signed off on it and said like, you're good to go home, because obviously I wasn't in labor. So that was a little bit of like a scary, stressful time. But when things like that happen, especially as the pregnant mother, you have to try your hardest, which is really hard, not to stress, because you don't want to stress out the baby. So it was a little bit stressful, but I'm glad everything's okay. So hopefully if all goes to plan, and I don't go into labor, I guess, then I will be induced on the 21st. Now, a couple things I did want to mention. Well, the reason I was so disheartened by this is because I've been having contractions. So I would call it like prodromal labor, I think it's called. Prodromal labor? I'll put it on the screen here. And essentially it's when you're getting like contractions, they're like consistent and stuff like that, but you're not dilating. So it's kind of like Braxton Hicks. I was getting like contractions for a while. I was getting them up here, and then someone told me like, yeah, that's Braxton Hicks. But they were like getting really painful and consistent. And then for like the night before last night, all through the night I was getting like menstrual like contraction cramping. And I was like, yeah, it's happening. With my water broke, so I never had like the contractions first, so I don't know what it's like to get contractions first. With my daughter, I knew I was in labor because my water broke, so it's kind of just like, you know, a waiting game. And I was disheartened because I was having contractions all night. Some of them were actually painful, and when I went in for my appointment, she's like, you are nowhere near labor. So that was very disheartening. It had been 2 weeks, no changes. I have been walking. I have been doing everything possible. I have been doing renovations on my house, like you name it. I have tried pretty much everything to induce this labor, and it has not worked. So my doctor was like, go home, go on walks, nipple stimulation, sex, and see what happens. And then when we went to the hospital, the nurse was like, all right, you two, sex, 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 sex. And she just kept saying it over and over again, nipple stimulation. She's like, get that baby out. So every husband's dream, right? So, you know, and for the wife who's like 40 weeks pregnant, like, whoopee, thanks. Just what I want to be doing when I feel like, anywho, TMI, sorry. But I did want to put that in there in case you are in the same situation as me. It's super disheartening. I feel like everyone in the world has had their babies already, even before their due date, and I'm just going overdue now and into the future for another 9 days. So that is that. Super uncomfortable to sleep, uncomfortable to do anything. I literally am peeing so much because baby's head is like pushing on my bladder now because they're down there. So throughout the night, I'm literally up like over 10 times a night peeing, and I get thirsty in the night, so I have to drink, so then it makes me pee even more, and it's so frustrating. It's been fun, but I'm so ready to have this baby and meet this baby. I really hope that you don't have to see me at 41 weeks pregnant when I'm updating again after the ultrasound and everything. I'm really hoping I can have this baby this week, but I genuinely don't know what's gonna happen. So otherwise, you'll see me next week in a 41-week update, and if not, then you will know in my next update what happened. Alrighty, otherwise, honestly, I will update like in real time on Instagram. These are all pre-filmed videos, so right now I'm filming this on March 12th, but it's not going up for a couple weeks. I've pre-filmed all of these at the time of when I was, you know, 40 weeks pregnant, 30 weeks, whatever, but I'm not uploading them at the same time, if that makes sense. That way I can stagger it, so I can take a couple weeks off after I have the baby, but still be uploading. So in real time, I update on Instagram. So if like you're really curious on what's going on and you don't want to wait, I do have my Instagram down below. It is Trebusheayt, that's it. So you can definitely follow me on there and see kind of what's been going on. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next update or my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.